Happy Friday. What's up, YouTube? It is December 1st, 2018. I'm going to get this date right one of these times. I've had multiple chances today, and I managed to muck it up every time. TGIF.
Time traveling, sir.
Right? Welcome to Iron Realm Media's Flat Earth Friday FringeCast. My name is Josh Corey. Glad you all joined us. I'm super pumped. I was dead tired about 45 minutes ago, but I set my coffee maker to bold, waited 45 minutes for that son of a bitch to brew, and here I am. I'm hyped now, buddy. Well, we got a relatively full house. I don't think we'll have Rob joining us today, and James seems to be having some connection issues, but I do suspect he will pop in here as soon as humanly possible. That said, we do have John Savage joining us today. John Savage, are you still audible? Is your mic still working?
I hope so. Can you hear me?
Oh, it's beautiful. I love it.
I do too. Finally.
How was your week? Good week?
Yeah, pretty good week. Quite interesting. Got some interesting emails from some people around the world planning on doing balloon rocket launches and designing all these sort of free energy devices and things like this. So yeah, exploring that avenue, and they put down a $10,000 gyroscope challenge as well, called the Faux Cult Gyroscope Challenge, which is a play on Faux Cult's gyroscope, which I thought was quite amusing. But yeah, interesting stuff.
Well, yeah, let's get into that a little bit later. We can talk about who that is, but don't give away his name just yet, so there's no hints involved.
Well, looking forward to the show anyway.
Yeah, I think it's going to be exciting.
Absolutely.
We also have one Mr. Walter Johnson, my co-host from this morning on the Ironworks over there on Truth Frequency Radio. Walter, how was your day?
Well, I'm doing great. It is May 24th. 2072, and man, I am pumped for Friday.
That's awesome. Yeah, thanks. I appreciate that.
Hey, you know, you've been doing it all morning, all day, all afternoon. You didn't even sleep, so you can't even excuse it that I slept and reset my own clock. So I don't want to hear it. Get a calendar, buddy.
How was your week?
It's great. You know this, man. Every Friday we do this crazy thing in the morning and then come over here and hang out with these nutters. So it doesn't get any better. Flat Earth Friday. Thank God it's flat.
Thank God it's flat. We're also joined by Mr. Adam Meakin. Adam, how was your week?
Very pleasant, sir. Very pleasant. Yeah, I've had a nice week. We had a little chitty chat in the week, didn't we, with Sun and Moon group. Thanksgiving's over, so I'm looking forward to catching up with Rich, Mr. Thrive and Survive, and seeing what he's going to do with this database of experimentation and information that he's proposing to build after the conference. So I'm looking forward to that. And topped off a nice week tonight. My son Archie, congratulations. He got his green belt tonight. He's 10 years old. He got his green belt tonight for Goyaru, which is a form of karate and Tai Chi. So congratulations, Archie. So yeah, I've had a great week, mate.
Well, good job, Archie. That's awesome. There's a round of applause just for you, Archie.
He's going to love that.
So, I think that pretty much makes the rounds for us. That only leaves the man of the hour. But before we get there, we had a little announcement I thought, Adam, you wanted to get this out of the way real quick.
Yeah, because I did promise, didn't I, I'd do it. So I did promise when WWE came into us, I don't know, or WWF as it was then. And I kind of enjoyed it for a few years in my early teens. And I'd been promising I'd do a ring call that I kind of hope I remember. Probably don't, if he came on. So here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, D Generation X proudly brings to you its TFR Tag Team Champions of the World, the Road Dogg Walter Johnson, the Badass Josh Corey, the Flat Earth Outlaws.
That was awesome. Good job.
Yes.
You've definitely been practicing.
Love it. Love it.
All right. So then that will bring us to the man of the hour. Now, Billy Ray Valentine likes to introduce him as 911 pounds, but that's kind of already taken. So from the information I've seen, this man is weighing in at nearly 19 and a half stone.
Yo,
How'd you like for that one? So,
I
ladies
like
and gentlemen, did you like that, Adam?
I understand that, yeah.
Awesome. Well, then, without much further ado,
there it is.
ladies and gentlemen, former Dynasty Tag Team Champion, Ben Hamin. Ben, welcome to the Iron.
The Iron Realms, that's right. Individual, critical thoughts, criminal-minded, blinded by illusion. You're finding it confusing. It's the duel of the Iron Realm mics, and it's the 52 fatal strikes of Hacker Hamin joining you moron infidels on Flat Earth Friday. Time to make your head round with one $5 face slap again. Make your wife's ass flat with one slap on it as well, morons. So hear me now. Hacker Hamin has invaded the Iron Realm media.
I love it. I love it so much.
Oh, yes. Yes, yes.
Y'all, good to be on with you guys. Adam, John, Walt, Josh, man, thanks for having me on. I apologize. We had the schedule for earlier, and then Dynasty actually, I think you guys might have been on it in collusion to throw me off my game. They switched the date of the show, and that's where we ended up losing our tag team titles, but it was really that infidel Sergeant Fury who came in to grab my ISIS flag and distract me. That's the only reason they won. But coming up December 9th, we're winning them back. We'll be the two-time Dynasty Tag Team Champions, my partner Assad King and I. And BWO Stevie, I know you're out there. I see you watching in the chat room, and I know you probably had something to do with it too, infidels. So stop your laughing, because I'm going to slap that smile right off your faces.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but did you not lose the belt to a couple guys named Pretty and Gritty?
Yeah, well, nitty and gritty, but yeah.
Oh, Nitty and Gritty. I'm pretty sure it said Pretty from where I saw it. But
yeah, well, the one is a pretty boy, athletic guy, but then he's with Bull Hightower, who's 6'6", 340 pounds, and when that guy comes off the top rope and hits you with the splash, and if you don't get out of the way, there's no coming back from it. And I've been hit with it twice, man. So it's like the Hindenburg coming down on you. Oh, the humanity. So they're tough guys, but this time around, nothing will save them. Nobody takes my gold.
yeah, I bet that's quite a sight to look up and see coming at you.
That's what it is. I mean, you can be looking all around and have the crowd and be into it, but once you get slammed on the mat and you're just looking up at the sky, and all of a sudden this guy comes into your vision and it just comes down on you. Oh, there's nothing like it, man. The definitely try not to have a bad reaction and put yourself in a place where he's gonna land on your arm and destroy it or smash it. But that's a big man to be coming off the top rope on you for sure, man.
You don't just do wrestling either. You're actually into the world of podcasting and conspiracies as well, are you not? I don't think there's probably several people here, because most of the people listening are probably way into Flat Earth, so they may not have caught your particular podcast.
Yeah, so I started out actually before I even got. I was doing improv comedy for a long time in Chicago. Came up with a lot of people that you see on Saturday Night Live and a lot of the movies and late night shows. And then I got the wrestling addiction, and I've been doing that for almost 12 years now, and had a great run. But when it comes to starting my own media platform in the last year, I used to work for WrestleZone, and now I'm got my own thing, hackerhamin.podbean.com, and then the Hamin media discussion group. Let me get that. Hamin media discussion group on Facebook has really just blown up in the last 2 weeks. But I do kind of 50-50. I have a lot of reporters working for me. So we do wrestling review because there's so many shows to watch, so many hours every week. And that niche community really loves to get the feedback and be interactive. And we have some of the best most interactive wrestling fans at the Hamin Media Discussion Group. They kind of jump from WrestleZone. But then on the other side of that, I'm doing the Conspiracy Horsemen with my wrestling brothers. And it's a different twist because you have some veteran wrestlers talking conspiracy. So it's myself, Stevie Richards from ECW, WWE fame, the Blue World Order, my boy Sal Valente, big Sal Graziano from ECW, FBI as well, and then Greek God Papadon. So you get to hear what workers talk like in the locker room, and we, have a constant chat going where we send each other links and we just try and do research. And then also, as you know, you're my co-host with Billy Ray Valentine on the Infinite Fringe on Sundays at 7 on iHeartRadio on Truth Frequency Radio. So I get to live a life creative, do all this crazy stuff that's going on, and just constantly producing shows. Content's king, it's in my opinion, and interacting and making moments is what I try and do for myself. So I've been fortunate, man.
That's awesome. You are a busy, busy guy.
And I just got booked to do stand-up comedy opening for the Honky Tonk Man in January, so I'm looking forward to that.
Opening for the Honky Tonk Man, huh?
Yeah. So he's going on his book tour, doing some stand-up. I did the same thing for Hacksaw, but hopefully I won't get hit like I did with the 2x4. I don't want to get hit with that guitar, but we'll see how it works out.
You notice the hat, sir? The hat signed
by Hacksaw, you infidel. That's it. Cut his mic. Off the show. Get him off the show.
That's great.
That's one of my mortal enemies, Hacksaw Jim Duggan. I know word gets out there. I may have to actually face him, too, down the road here in Dynasty. I've heard rumors that he may be coming back around. This next show is Jake the Snake Roberts as the headliner. Nice. And I'm not afraid of snakes, and I'll put that old man down. I don't care how much DDP yoga he does.
DDP yoga, that's awesome.
No downward dog or cobra stretch will get you out of the camel clutch, infidel.
Are them guys still going? That's awesome, man. That's and is Jim, is that what you got there, Walt? Jim Duggan? In the 2x4, the
better right. Stop that.
Yeah, he came through when I was on the radio, and I got to hang out with him, do a little live pre-show before one of his matches down here. Man, that's been what, 2007, 2008, maybe.
Yeah, he's still
maybe 2010, something like that.
I think we found somebody who's easier to trigger than Timmy. If that's all I've got to do is a Duggan call. But are those guys still actually competing and performing?
Duggan does, yeah. He'll get in the ring and give you the shoulder block for the finish. His matches are pretty similar, but I've faced him 7 times now. With what I do in the show, I'm kind of a throwback to that 80s style. Like, granted, I can do what needs to be done. The reason I started the character was to give people some PTSD relief and also to bring awareness to the 9/11 truth movement. Because I'm half Bin Laden and part Saddam, part Hitler, part Tojo. I steal from all the greats, and bring that to the game because people only got to see this B-roll footage on Fox News for so many years, and even the myth of Bin Laden being killed, and we much like the Vegas massacre, we get no footage whatsoever of what really happened. So they need.
Can I ask a question on that, Ben? On your character, actually?
Yeah.
Because I mean, you allude to to part of the purpose behind why you've chosen that, as opposed to one of the multitude of things that's out there. And I was asking you earlier, you've been around the world, and you said, you've actually received some odd support from a lot of the Islamic countries, not people who are necessarily Muslim in non-Muslim countries. And I I heard what you said about, that's where you receive a lot. I just wonder if you had a lot of negative support from the character and a lot of prejudging of your decision of character role before you.
It was interesting, when I started in the South in Kentucky at OVW, that's an easy crowd to trigger. Hey man, go back to where you came from, man, that kind of shit. So it was. Sorry if I'm now supposed to curse. I know it's YouTube, but I don't. I'm okay. All right. So that was the trigger for them. But both of my guys that I managed before I started wrestling, Muhammad Ali Vaez and Khalil Gaspard, which were Ali and Omar Akbar. One is Iranian American, really American, and he went to West Point for a while, but we played the extremist gimmick because it's wrestling. And Khalil was from Canada, and they, always supported me, but it seems like they wanted to get away from doing that for a while, where I've always stuck to it. Now, when it comes from support from outside of the country, it's weird that I get a hood pass from people in Lebanon to Abu Dhabi to Saudi Arabia. I've had people from all over the Middle East hit me up, and never once have I been like, you've been put on the fatwa list. How dare you? But when it comes from sometimes soldiers or veterans of like the Vietnam era, it really triggers the shit out of them, which is what I'm here to do. So when they see me lose, they can let go of some of that PTSD, you know what I mean? Or whatever they're trying to hold on to there. So I try not to lose too much because I got to get my heat, but everything that is angry in them, in my opinion, is a fact that they know that there is no bin Laden closure. They know that 9/11 was an inside job. They know that they went to war predicated on false flags and lies of weapon of mass destruction, and they don't want to face that. So let's use wrestling as an escapism and let them have a little release even. And that's what Ben Hamin is all about, infidels, y'all.
I love it.
And then I also sell $5 face slaps. So come to a show and I'll slap you across your face for $5.
I think maybe not the latter, but certainly the former.
Absolutely.
Respect, fella. That's
So. Yeah, that kind of goes back to my improv training in Chicago too. We're taught a lot of rules of group mind and yes and, but one of the things that always sticks with me is the work can handle anything if you approach it correctly. And for me, that's obviously was such a brazen subject back a decade ago, where it was tough to even pull people into false flags and 9/11 truth, that approached the right way, it could be talked about. So I use my character.
You use that word work there, right? And that's one of the reasons I was interested in chatting to you is to get your kind of perspective on world events, flat Earth as well. You're the kind of guys that are trained in a work, presenting a story, trying to make it believable to an audience, and that. How do your mind must work in slightly different ways to kind of conjure up some of the stories and the likes. And how do you view? Do you think you're more cynical, or do you think you've got a better viewpoint from your kind of 9-to-5 job because of it? I mean,
Well, I'm definitely cynical, and then there's the part of improv that makes me want to make moments and say yes and believe in group mind. But then, as the wrestler part of me, instantly the number one thing every wrestler will tell you is, bro, it's all a work. Doesn't matter what you say, from Christmas to religion to flat earth to Mars landing, moon landings, being failed, it's all a work, bro. So that's just where we kind of start from, because it's our job to work the audience. And as conspiracy enthusiasts, we look at things to punch holes in it and ask questions why. So as soon as you can say why, or this doesn't make sense, boom, it's all a work, bro. So yeah, the way I look at it that way, our world of this carny business definitely shapes us in a different way. And we look at, people call fans marks, and that goes back to, the days of when they actually mark them at the carnivals. Like somebody would come down and mark somebody with chalk as they were walking down through the midway, so they would know who had spent money where, and you could draw them in and work them even more. This guy's a mark. That's where it comes from. If people didn't know that, and it kind of becomes like a term that, oh, I'm not a mark, and marks, anyone who says that is a mark, really. But so they are, there's workers and there's marks, and you're either going to work somebody for their dollar and make them believe something, and marks want to get worked. They want an escapism. They want the ability to leave reality for a little bit in a wrestling world and go into some place where the volume's turned up on all emotion, on all action, and so they can live vicariously and get out the violence that they really want to see in their lives, that they can't go home and, slam their kid on the concrete or something.
I just watched an amazing behind the scenes of Jim Carrey.
That was great.
Doing the Andy Kaufman movie, and not even getting lost in the role, man. It was almost like he was possessed by the spirit of Kaufman. It was spooky to see. And I mean, I was always a huge Kaufman fan. And when he took that left turn into wrestling, a lot of people didn't get it. It blew a lot of people's minds. If you lived through that age, I'm sure you did. It really, the whole, like, taking what you do and with the controversial edge to the character. I mean, that is so brilliant. I think that it speaks to that whole idea of taking it to the edge of pissing them off, get that reaction, and they've experienced it. It's not just a show. They're part of it now,
Yeah, there is no bigger performance buzz than that. It really is the strongest drug, as it's been called, and I think, in performance. But what he was doing isn't too far off what I'm doing. Granted, mine's religion, world events based, but he was really getting feminism and female equality over more than by his heat, by insulting them, and would just fire the audience up. You know what I mean? So I include a little of that. I steal from him as well. Good artists create, great artists steal and make it their own. And that's definitely some good footage that I looked back on and be like, look how this guy's controlling the crowd, telling them exactly what they don't want to hear to a specific niche of people, demographic. And then once you can get them riled up, everybody else is going to come along. I used to come out at OVW and do right when you walk out, there's a row for handicapped people in wheelchairs. We would have 4 or 5 great fans who were there every week, and I would just walk over by them and be like, "You're a faker, stand up, you're in it just for the check." And like, they would see the Islamic dude picking on the handicapped guy, and those guys loved it because everyone always caters to them, you know what I mean? And for them to get shit on a little bit and like somebody to come at them how it would anybody else, they loved it. But then everybody in the crowd be like, how dare you do that, you know what I mean? And with a switch I would have them. So
it's called treating them like normal people, you mean?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, why everyone's always giving them the, oh, you poor thing, and what can I do for you? And I'm like, no, you're a faker. You're in it for the check, infidel. You're not fooling anyone. You just get your government assistance. Now rise and praise me. You will stand before me now, you faker. And then the one guy who had like half palsy and like couldn't move his arms up, but that guy would move his arm up to give me like a half-ass flip off, you know what I mean? And watch while he's gyrating in his chair, I would start to almost laugh. And that's when you knew I was making a moment for them, regardless. So when I get beat or somebody does something, hits me in the crotch or whatever, I get the big splash, they lose their mind and love it that much more. That's my job. So heels need to get heat. Al Snow taught me one other tenet was me is you put heat on your heel and you make your baby face off your heel. So you can't just come out and tell people, oh, I'm a good guy, I'm a baby face, love me. You have to have a bad guy in circumstances in order for that guy to shine brightly. So that was my job, to be the bad guy, and still is.
I think that's, as you described there, that's the point I was probably alluding to in the question. Okay. You see in terms of the con talks and the phrases, do you see the shill, the heel, the things in all the mainstream headlines that we see? Or
yeah, monster. I mean, even today we had Flynn say that he did collude with Russia. I even have a T-shirt that it's me and Donald Trump on the front. It says "Heels over strong" on there. So just like people were having a visceral reaction to Trump and then put a Bin Laden character next to him. And, you know, it's just that makes you the baby face. Like if you have a reaction like, yeah, screw that guy, but it's still you're getting gotten over on by heels at this point. So that makes you want to raise up to do the right thing. So the people could be the baby face, you know what I mean? But there's all types of swerves. But all those, anybody in government is really a heel. They're as we see them get exposed every week for some sexual dysfunction or for trading uranium on tarmacs or lying or corrupting elections and fake email scandals and Pizzagate, Pedogate scandals and Benghazi. I mean, the list goes on and on. So they want to put up the front that they're baby faces, but as a worker, I'm like, nah, y'all, you're total heels. So, you know, I just don't try and act like a baby. I'm always a heel.
And if you guys want to get your hands on that T-shirt with Ben Hamin and President Trump, just head on over to prowrestlingtees.com/Ben Hamin. You can pick up all sorts of T-shirts over there.
All kinds. That was a good one. I wanted you to do it in the voice, though. prowrestlingtees.com/Ben Hamin.
I love it. I really need to get a character for this show. Say all the things that I'm not allowed to say.
Yeah, that's the other part, is to be able to live vicariously through the character and get away with it.
Could we get a rude Smurf?
A rude Smurf.
A rude Smurf. Band name, called it.
I was just checking out some of the videos you had on YouTube, and I see that you are an equal opportunity slapper for your $5 face slap.
That was a crazy night. That was actually the night I opened for Hacksaw doing stand up. And this girl comes up to me and like I said earlier, the work can handle anything. And I don't know if she was just into S&M and she's into that kind of, you know, gets her going down there. But she comes up and put down her money. She put down $6 actually. And I think I tried to give her $1 back. She's like, no, you can have it. That's your tip. I go, she came for the tip, but she stayed for the shaft. And I reached back and give her, and I put these on YouTube, you know, because it is to show also what celebrity can do to make people do this. Like, it started just as a carnival barker thing, because as a heel, it's tough to get people to come to your merch table. You know, they want to buy from baby faces. Really, a heel shouldn't even be out at merch, to be honest with you, but it's the indies. I got to make my money. And so it would just be people walking by, and I'll say, I'll discipline your child $5. No more wetting the bed. You'll stop picking your nose. You'll mow the lawn. Or then, like, you know, there's a lot of like 30 to 40-year-old virgin crowd who want to test me. So as long as they're not under 18, I'm like, yeah, I'll light you up. So this girl comes up and does that. And I gave her kind of a weak slap because I was like, and then I was like, nah, I can't. So I reached back and I cranked her right across the face. You know, so I think since I started doing $5 face slaps in the last 3 years, I've sold 21. So I've made about $105 and buy two, get one free. So that 21 people pay me to slap across the face, and I don't wrestling pull it either. When I lay it in there, I lay it in. I lay my shit in. So
hey,
Yeah.
that's it. Get their money's worth.
yeah, unlimited supply. I never run out.
She definitely got her money's worth. I don't think she saw that second one coming.
No,
She was
she did.
Totally grabbing.
Yeah. But I've laid in some hard ones this year. My guy Demetrius Zordos from Dippin' Donuts here where I live, he came up to me before. He's like, I'm not going to sell it. I go, you won't have to sell it. It's going to be a shoot. I'm going to knock you out of your shoes. And boy, I cuffed him, and the whole side of his face lit up purple for about the next hour and a half. Man, I almost felt bad because I mollywopped him hard.
Molly.
Well, back to the whole idea of the political puppetry. I mean, okay, how much at this point do you still get wrapped up into their show? Because to me, that's all just a show now, you know?
Sure. I feel like I'm ahead of the game almost all the time because of wrestling and because of the Conspiracy Horsemen. Doesn't matter what we're talking about. It seems like we'll do a show, and within 72 hours, I'll see 7 or 8 headlines that are exactly what we just covered. And even when it comes to all this sexual assault stuff that came out with Podesta in 2016 in October, called tinfoil hat conspiracy. Oh, shut up. Oh, you listen to Alex Jones, that whatever. Like, I'm not going to put anybody over like I'm dedicated to anyone because as Stone Cold Steve Austin would say, DTA, don't trust anyone, jackass. So, that's all part of it. But I knew there was something there. And I knew once those dominoes started to fall, it was going to be a chain reaction and things were going to keep rolling out till we get to Weinstein, till we get to Anthony Weiner, till we get through Matt Lauer this week, Al Franken. I mean, Bill Cosby, like the list goes on and on and on and on and on. And they're all just going to cannibalize themselves. So I don't put things out there unless I've A, got a gut feeling about it, and B, done the research to be like, all right, there's something here. I know they're trying to work people. And I don't subscribe to any mainstream media, CNN, MSNBC, Fox News. I don't watch any of that shit because that's all a work for the masses. 6 companies own all of mainstream media. So a boardroom of people get to decide what 95% of the people in the world are going to see. I'm not going to be one of them and get worked like that. I'm the worker. I see where they're coming from. I pull the strings on audiences all the time. So there's no way they're doing it on me. And even if they do, I kind of feel it in the moment, and I'll pull back just a little bit.
Ben, on that note, we had like Crow 777 on last week. We got a few people on. Who do you listen to? I mean, you must be burning hours, listening to podcasts and things like that. Who do you listen to?
Yeah, I don't do much listening, unfortunately, these days. It's what I check out on YouTube. Jacob Israel, I like where he goes. Documentaries. If I'm gonna study something, whether it's take it back to flat Earth, like Admiral Byrd stuff, Antarctica, and what I can find out that way. A lot of websites, but DrudgeReport.com I find is probably the best news conglomerate site where it can lead you a certain way, and then you can go, like, you want to learn about the DARPA robots, then you go search DARPA and all the videos that are out there. You want to learn more about CERN. I like Gen 6 Productions. Me being a white atheist playing a Muslim extremist it affords me to kind of split how I do my research and not have to do it from a Hamin point of view with the conspiracy stuff now. So there's nobody that I hold up on high. The late, great Chris Hitchens, maybe. But, when it comes to anybody religion talk and anybody preaching down to me, I can almost watch mainstream news if I was to watch it and look and find out where the work is by punching holes in their story. And that tells me the real truth of what's going to happen. And then 4 months later, that truth usually happens. That's how far ahead of the curve I try and stay.
Yeah, it's like reverse engineering the news, isn't it? But not many people can do it.
But I also, as a college professor, teach media from design standpoint, from media deconstruction, advertising, and media planning. So I know all that goes into it, and to have a reaction, to be a puppet master of control and advertising or how things are presented. And when I see the aesthetics of how they're doing it, it tells the true story to me. So
as a professor of media, which I didn't know, sorry, I'm incredibly ignorant on these sort of things, but do you cover things like Edward Bernays and Freud and that sort of thing in terms of manipulating your audience?
I should. I mean, if I had more time and deeper classes, I do teach my fundamentals of media class, which I do have to get in, the aesthetics where we all talk the same, where they have to know how much data is on a DVD or like file conventions. What does JPEG mean? What does HTML mean? All those things. So we have to do some of that, but I try and really peel their heads back and because they're coming out of high school and just like really reverse everything they've been taught and shatter. There was a book from disinfo.com called Everything You Know Is Wrong. And I kind of start with that premise and hit them up left and right with everything from JFK to obviously the war that was for profit to Mandela effect and things like that, to really just break the childhood confines that they were conditioned with for the last 12 years. And that really does endear them to me. Makes them a little brainwashed of me being a little culty of a leader sometimes, because I'm giving them all kinds of information. Like I ask who was the first president, and they say George Washington every time. They don't know that there was 8 presidents beforehand with the Articles of Confederation. So just that alone just destroys everything that they were conditioned to from kindergarten. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So Edward Bernays and stuff, that's a little bit higher. I wish I could get a level 2 course of that, a level 300, where I could bring that kind of stuff in, where we could deconstruct it more. But I have to kind of split my time, because it's not just a conspiracy theory course or a JFK analysis course or things like that. So, but they get a healthy dose of both to become weary of what they've been told, and that it's on them to really go in and deconstruct everything going forward. So that's what I'm trying to do with them.
You could almost introduce a level 5 and start covering the Tavistock Institute and all this other stuff that's going on, because media is a key to our brainwashing, basically.
Yeah, it was tough for me to add media to the end of our little moniker there. It was a hard sell.
Well, hopefully we're brainwashing in the right direction, but I know what you mean, Walt. Yeah.
And forgive me, guys. I know I'm the guest on here, but I definitely can bulldoze conversations. So don't be afraid to get your heat in and tell me to shut the hell up. I mean,
these guys usually don't have too much problem keeping it going.
You're doing well. We've just been joined by James.
James made it. Yes, welcome, James. Full Armor OG.
Can we hear
run
you
in
there?
from James? Duck the super kick, James.
He may not have audio.
Well, maybe he's not actually here. He's been having trouble with his Skype.
There he is. There we go.
I was so angry, Ben. How you doing? I was dying over here. I was so excited to get on the show, and I couldn't get in.
Y'all, James, I need a tag team partner. These infidels are going 4-on-1 coming at me, so hopefully you'll be on my side. Now you've joined the insurgency.
The Canadian Warrior is here. I don't know. I'm doing pretty good, man. I'm just happy it's Friday. I'm happy we all are here, and man, am I happy I got on the call. So
y'all, the Maple Leaf Mauler is in the house, infidels.
Yes, they're actually
like the RCMP.
Good, man. Glad to have you on. Glad to be on with you guys here at Iron Realm Media. Really been looking forward to it, and I felt bad that I had to cancel that booking before, but I'm glad we're all getting together now. And let me turn the tables on you guys, because I put myself over enough. One more time, ProWrestlingTees.com/Ben Hamin, at Ben_Hamin, HackerHamin.podbean.com, infidels, Hacker Hamin on iTunes. I wanted to hit you guys with this. I'm sure you talked about it on your show last week, but what about old boy who did the homemade rocket that was gonna go up to try and prove flat Earth was legit? I haven't seen or heard.
He wasn't going up to prove flat Earth was legit. He got paid to put flat Earth research on the side of his rocket. He's an idiot, and he was already going up.
Okay, I say just to get away from his wife or something, or what?
He's a stunt man. He's got a career as a stunt man already on the back burner. He was a limo driver. He's already done this steam-powered rocket and injured himself not too long ago, 2014, I believe.
Yeah, he was down 3 days.
And he was trying to launch a flying limousine, rocket-powered limousine at one point. I mean, he's trying to be the modern day of a Knievel. Not well.
Is that the Mad Mike guy?
Mad Mike, yeah.
So next step was to go up in I'm going to botch this, but it's like a balloon lift, and then the rocket launches from higher up in the atmosphere.
Which is an intriguing idea in the scheme of things. We've talked about launching balloons and having drones go from that height, and it's trying to see a little different view. But he is not a researcher. He was approached by a very irritating person who is either playing the heel to the hilt or is a straight infidel infiltrator. And his he's been behind things that have definitely shown a bad light on the flat Earth community.
So you're thinking this is a disinformation campaign? Just
absolutely. I mean, the first thing that somebody sent this, somebody's mother, who has no interest in conspiracy, no interest in any type of alternative news, got this story and sent it to a friend of mine. That's how out there this story got. So this was some people's first introduction to the fact that there's even a flat Earth anything in the world. And now they're seeing it written on the side of an idiot's rocket that potentially is going to kill itself when he does this. And that's going to be their first taste of flat Earth. It's kind of like what the Flat Earth Society has been since they have been around, is introducing idiot ideas that make no sense to make the first impression be just that. Oh, flat Earth, bunch of idiots. I'm going back to watch TV and spin away.
Did he take a bad bump, and is he flat on the Earth himself at this point, or what?
He didn't get to launch. The last I heard, he still was being blocked by the local red tape. So
I say let him do it regardless. Let him take it. He's not a young buck either, man. Like,
no, he's not.
If he's got to come down hard, and that's a lot farther than off the top rope to the floor on that one, man. He's gonna. And I saw on the last one where he got hurt for like 3 days. He was out of commission. Yeah. That parachute looked like it was sewn together with old socks and underwear, pretty much.
Right.
Army. I don't know what he was thinking of. And so
he needed to go back and watch the Snake River Canyon jump a few times. It looked like.
So, all right. Well, I knew that, and I liked that. I saw you get hot right there, Walt. That's the main reason I wanted you to get hot.
Well, that's when I saw that it was going to happen. That was my first reaction. Is this is going to make it look silly to everyone, And that's why this guy is doing what he's been doing. He's been very integral into stirring up crap. Right. I mean, the first thing was a billboard that was put out that he then said, "Oh, hi, I'm somebody else. I'm not my real name. I'm completely a person that everybody in the community knows I'm not, but I'm going to say I'm that person." He's just been an issue for me since day one.
Yeah, it's clickbait for, the novices to see some shit like that and write them off. I understand.
My issue is that the media.
And he sells T-shirts from it, of course.
Yeah, sure.
Codename Ron Popeil.
Go ahead, Josh.
GLH number 9, baby.
I was just going to say that was my issue, was just the fact that you thought that he was even a flat earther is only because the mainstream media likes to muck up all the stories.
Right.
They just see, oh, he's got research flat earth on the side of this rocket. Well, he must be a flat earther. So if he's a flat earther in a rocket, well, then he must be going up into space. If he's doing that, well, he must be doing it to prove the flat earth. Sweet. That sounds like a cool story. Let me write that up. And then that's what gets run. So everybody says, well, what about this flat earther going up in a rocket? What?
Yeah.
Never heard of it.
I think John.
I'm kind of feeling a work here, guys. This isn't, to use a phrase, as you raise it, it's quite interesting because this rocket and the sponsorship isn't a new thing. The sponsorship of this rocket, as far as my memory's a bit hazy, but it's not something this side of the summer, is it? It's been sponsored a while, as far as I'm aware, and I assume it's been sat there ready for mainstream ridicule for what we're seeing now. If you actually take
ready
it from
to deploy, sir,
a hacker Hamin perspective, maybe there is that suggestion that this was an intelligent man, as Walt alludes to go and stick, who wants to promote flat earth, to go and stick it on something that when it does launch could only bring ridicule if it was to go to the mainstream. It's a strange choice of promotion, is the phrase I'd probably use without being accusatory.
I would say this, sorry to cut in, I just want to throw this out there with the media. Did you guys read the Boston Globe article on flat earthers? They've definitely been read their papers and got the script now, because all of the major outlets since North Carolina and the convention are talking about us in a certain paraphrased language. So, back to basics, like old school thinkers.
In spite of astounding evidence, James, are you saying stuff like that?
Well,
That's one phrase I keep hearing. In spite of all evidence, these people believe blah, 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 blah.
And more of a fascination. It's fascinating that they feel pictures are manipulated, and they feel like we're not being told the whole story. So it's kind of like a normalization. Like we have talked about it coming, but they have it now. They had to get briefed, obviously. It feels like.
And now Elon Musk has fired his volley at the Flat Earth Society. So,
did he?
Yay! Yeah, he tweeted out something to them about Mars. You know, there was a picture from Mars that he tweeted and saying, "Well, why hasn't there been a Flat Mars Society?" And that, they of course tweeted back something idiotly because that's their job.
He's the Elon of Mars, isn't he? So we should know.
If anybody's an character, that'd be the one for sure.
But he's almost switched gears too. I mean, and here's part of the work of like clocking people's behavior. Because if he was Mr. Space and we're going to do this and go to Mars and populate, he shifted gears a lot to get his little feud on with old boy from Facebook and to put over AI and robotics. Like that's all the shit he's talking about now. So for him to kayfabe what he was hot about at one time is interesting to me, because that other stuff might have been for initial investments, and maybe he clocked that money, put it away, and did a couple things in front of the camera. Like, look, we can land a rocket vertically, and there's hope for the future. And who wants to be the first ones to do that? But he's really gone away from that, and the Tesla car kind of failing too. So that's an interesting bait and switch in my mind of people getting worked for money to some degree, and then he can just change the conversation.
Hey, Walt, do me a favor and wave to your camera real quick. All right, just making sure.
So Ben, can I just... Oh, sorry, Josh.
I think he wants him to say, hi, Katie.
So Ben, I was just going to ask. We're talking about these sort of in-depth flat Earth issues. With Mad Mike and the rockets and this sort of thing. Are you a flat earther or not? I mean, where are you on the flat Earth? Because I don't know. So for anyone who's listening who may not know, it might be a good time to clarify so that we don't lump you into
I
a box.
I think you're all infidel morons, so we need a $5 face slap. That's what the first thing will straighten you right out is one face slap. But you're not on an even plane.
I'll take a virtual slap.
If that'd work, I'd take it, wouldn't you, John? I'd sort a lot of my headaches out. You know what I mean? It would be a quick fix.
That's why I tell you, even that's why it kind of started, because guys will walk by, big fat guys or bald guys, and I'd be like, tomorrow you'll run a 5K, tomorrow you'll wake up and have a full head of hair, one slap across your bald head, Josh Corey, and you'll have a full head of hair when you wake up tomorrow. But yeah. Answer your question. I'm definitely not in the camp of flat Earth. I'll say that, but at the same time, me being a researcher and conspiracy guy, you guys pose a lot of questions that cannot be answered. And then as soon as that happens, like I said earlier, all right, something is a work. There's also the indoctrination of having a globe when you're a little kid. And the very first thing that happens when you're in kindergarten, and that they're indoctrinating you to that. Plus, everyone wants to put over like 1300s, 1400s. Oh, that was so long ago. They couldn't be right about anything, even though they're going all over the world and traveling. And they believed that shit was true at that time as well. And then when it comes to the Admiral Byrd and Antarctica stuff, there's a lot of things, or even the North Pole to put over hollow Earth and along those ways. So these are people who aren't just, no offense to us, but desk jockeys sitting at home doing it. These are real heroes out there braving the elements, asking the question in a time, Rocket Man just tried to do this stuff, and they might have put it over as a disinfo campaign, but back in the day there wasn't any internet. These people are just like, nope, I'm hopping in this plane that just got invented 20 years ago from Wilbur and Orville, and I'm going to take her across the old North Pole real quick and see if Santa Claus lives there. So it's like they were adventurers, and now that there's X amount of countries, 31 I think, that have signed on, that's Antarctica cannot be taken over, and that further, and the wrestler in me is like, all right, y'all are trying to work everybody, you're hiding something, what is it? And as soon as I get those go down those rabbit holes and they don't pan out with any real reason why, whether it's Hitler's secret Shangri-La bases or reptilian aliens that live there or whatever it might be, or the firmament, the edge of the firmament, all of those are what ifs. So that takes my percentage level of being global Earth, or and drops it from, I started at 100%, drop it to 90. Oh, then there's this bullshit. Oh, so now we're at 80. Oh, you can't explain gravity the right way. Okay, we're at 75%. Oh, then you want to have your main scientist Neil deGrasse Tyson come out and tell me that it's an apple bottom jeans, boots with the fur, pear-shaped Earth. Okay, then now we're down to 70%. So like, you trying to indoctrinate me in one way, but you can't answer the simple questions that and the moves that you've made through history in the last 100 years contradict what you want to do. And then you want to shadow ban all these videos from open discussion and thought from creative people who just want to have a conversation and come together. Flat Earth videos are the most banned on YouTube. So that's another propaganda piece of the equation. So they're just ruining their credibility, even though they're trying to do it silently away from the masses. And then with Rocket Man here, if that's a disinfo campaign, that's not a strike against flat earthers. That's you being exposed in a strike against whatever it is, what they're trying to do. So the more you try and push me one way, I'm going to pendulum the other way a little bit. So I'd say I'm probably at this point, and this is me, I don't know, maybe 6 months ago, I was at maybe 80, 75% around Earth. Now I might be at 65%.
Sure, the fence is getting thinner and thinner, eh, Ben?
Yeah. But and then to put it in, here's some weird stuff that happened in my realm. I don't know if you guys have heard this little pseudo celebrity stuff, but in WWE, this is maybe a year ago, they had a SmackDown after the show, and AJ Styles, who's WWE champ right now, is on there, and he kind of got called out on camera by Daniel Bryan, who's a former champ, about flat Earth. And I know I've done shows with AJ, super intelligent guy, and it's the same thing. We're all workers, and he's even far higher level than I am, so he looks at things through that lens. But the fact that they tried to just bust his balls from probably a conversation that they had, off camera that got somewhat heated, or the fact that they couldn't answer questions, and then they try and rib him by, getting him cornered on camera. And AJ had to kind of double back because, he's not going to blow his celebrity on that stuff. He's still got to keep working people. He's not going to go all in on a WWE show about flat Earth stuff. So there's an introduction to it to the mainstream. Now that's a year ago. This week in
that was a question I was going to ask about there, sure, Ben, actually, because it was one of the things I put that actually we've seen flat Earth coming out in basketball, but actually it came out in WWE first. Right.
Basketball too.
And so what you're saying there is actually that was just some guys actually just disrespecting the confidence and taking a private conversation into the workplace.
Yeah, that was a rib. We traveled on the road together. This is how the Conspiracy Horseman, my show, is, because you're getting a look at what it feels like to be in a car with guys who would talk this way. Well, we got to go work an audience, but we think everything's a work and we're going to deconstruct it this way in the car. That's really what the special part of our show is, because the fans usually don't get to hear us talk like that. So they were just trying to rib him on camera with that.
Genius.
Yeah. And then the other part of that was this week on the opening of Raw, after they just started doing this thing where after a guy wins a match, they go and interview him like UFC style, which is a mistake because you're all blown up and sucking wind and you're not going to be able to do your character at 100%. But they go up to Seth Rollins and he cuts this monologue and he puts over Dean Ambrose, who's on his honeymoon, and he goes, I'm not sure where he is. He's at the end of the earth right now. Hopefully he doesn't fall off. So that's an inside. So maybe Seth Rollins is taking a dig on Ambrose because maybe Ambrose is a flat earther too. So, wrestlers, we need to be up on everything because we need to pull from life to put it into what we do to turn the volume up to 11 to create these crazy realities, right? Pseudo realities. So 2 times now, Flat Earth has been a slight dig. One was on a show that not a lot of people may have seen. The other one is in the opening monologue of Raw. So it was very interesting that got on there, and it was a rib as well. But hey, that's at least one little step, one giant step for mankind. No, one small step, one step forward. And hey, it's invading the mainstream a little bit. And maybe Seth Rollins does or doesn't believe it, but that to me exposed that they've had some type of heated or fun or, just personally driven conversation backstage. And I wouldn't doubt if in WWE, I don't know this for a fact, but that this became like a hot topic and everyone was talking about it. And then wrestlers will do a little research because they're always on their phone. And what do they find? They find the Admiral Byrd stuff. They find the gravitational talk. They find the gyroscope stuff. They find the civil engineering plans for pipelines that don't have any curvature put into them. So there's some interesting things, and you're not. The other part is you're not going to work a worker, bro. So that's the main.
Yeah.
Sounds to me like you're well on the road, but still slightly an infidel. I'll say cheekily.
Yeah.
And I got a fact for you, another one that'll hopefully swing you a few percentage points, Ben.
Okay.
All right. So Werner Braun wrote a book called Mission, or what was it called? He called
Mission to Mars.
Yeah, Mission to Mars, where it's about saving a civilization by colonizing Mars, and guess who ends up being the hero and winning the race and getting to Mars and rules this new world order on Mars? Character by the name of Elon.
Oh, really?
Just a coincidence, though. I thought I'd just share that.
That's very interesting to me. Now, on the other part of that, on a conspiracy side, I do also believe there is, well, I don't say I believe anything because everything's a work, but whether
I love
it's
that term, by the way, work. That's such a good name for like shill now. It's like weird. That's awesome.
Worker's gonna work. I appreciate that, but I wish I came up with it and got paid every time it's used, but I didn't. The other part of that is the predictive programming of The Simpsons, whether it's him hitting the baseball to the firmament and then the water in the ocean drains through, or Trump going down the escalator and the kid drops the sign. I mean, or 9/11 stuff that was pre-programmed in there. So I asked the question, is there some type of, I don't want to say magic mirror on the wall, but some looking glass where they could see the future? And did the Nazis have that? Did that Werner Braun have that, where he wanted them to go and he saw Elon Musk in 2015 in a future look as well? I got to believe that there is some type of...
and then wrote about it. That's an interesting angle, bro.
Yeah.
Wow.
So the fact that the other parts play into that, well... And if we brought all these people over from Operation Paperclip and Nazis started NASA and we pretty much just...
And actually that book was actually based on Admiral Byrd, like where von Braun wrote the story from was based on the inspiration of Admiral Byrd and Operation High Jump.
Yes.
So there's a lot to that whole situation. I'm talking Germans, I'm talking the U.S., there's a lot to that story, as you well know.
Yeah, absolutely. But to me, there's some untold part of it. Some, I'm not saying Raiders of the Lost Ark, the Holy Grail type stuff. But is there something that has been developed, some alien technology that with the Foo Fighters that came and that was passed on to the Nazis to say, you want to see the future? You can see it. Now, here it is. And there's so much predictive programming in Hollywood and The Simpsons stuff. I'm not saying maybe Matt Groening is in that cabal where...
we definitely know that. I mean, he's proven like Freemasonic 100%.
Yeah, do you need to go to Bilderberg? Do you need to go to Bohemian Grove and to be ordered to see into the future of what it is so they can push that? Just based on the examples alone, I got to believe there's something unknown, not known to us still.
Yep. What do you think, Walt?
Well, actually, I think they built the device some time ago, and they've had it for some time. And it is exactly that, a looking glass through time, a way to see through time. There's been video that's been coming out here lately. If you go through YouTube and look for some of the classic old footage, you'll find stuff from like steam engine driven vehicles going down roads that looked like it was filmed with an iPhone camera. It's so crisp and sharp. I mean, there were no cameras back then that had that kind of definition. There just wasn't.
100%. I think it was September 2012, 2013 is when they made that time travel machine. If you look at some of the stuff with the pyramids, that was their test, apparently, to see if they blew the nose off it. And that's apparently why the Sphinx's nose is shot off. Because that was their signal that it would work, that it had worked. Yeah.
That seems like if we had that discussion, dude, man, that's ringing a bell, or I'm deja vu or something.
Dude,
that's crazy.
Remember with the crystal, your skull at the top, Napoleon, remember? He went in there.
That's right. The little energy wave going through the top. That's back in Mike's day.
The little red demon, the red man was there. The little, the little effer.
Cool. Yeah, I think
I think they did. They probably
quite
did.
Often, and it's part of their whole predictive programming, lesser spellcrafting they have to do, or they do, as that they've given you that they've shown it to you. Now they've gotten your consent to, then you're being duped willingly, in a way, which gives them much more energy.
That word spellcraft, Crow used that with me too, and that is many vernaculars we use in conspiracy theory, or what I have in improv or wrestling, because everything in wrestling people call gimmick. What their gimmick is pretty much can be switched in for any noun to talk carny, but that word spellcraft sticks out to me every time I've heard it. I need to do more research on what actually that is. I mean, I understand what it is, but what the real fundamental Aleister Crowley part of it is.
I think it'll go back to elementary school. I think that's going to be the basic, easiest base understanding. They taught you all about magic in elementary school and spellcraft. Right. They told you what it was. It was spelling. They told you. They're teaching you spells. They
sure did.
That's your spells. That's your witchcraft right there. You put all those spells into like a book. If it were magic, it'd be called a grimoire. But in school, they called it grammar, right? Because you're an idiot.
Wow, okay. Josh. And that Crowley, man, Ben, that is probably one of the darkest figures or entities to take over a figure in a long time. That boy wrote the book on a lot of stuff and took a lot of children's lives, and pretty much is the father of modern spellcraft. So, and he took his orders from people that were around during the Cthulhu, who were originating from the bloodline of the great hunter and his father. So. He's some serious dudes.
I would love to have worked that guy. I wouldn't have pulled a punch at all. He would have gotten all the free $5 face slaps I could unload.
Nice.
So when they were teaching your spelling in school, what was it they called it when you wrote it out with the big loops and the curly cues and stuff?
Cursive.
That's right.
There you go, brother. All right. I appreciate that. That's a great little lesson right there, man. I feel enlightened.
And then Jim said, that was the way
you tie it together too. Those are the guys that run the place, hey, Josh. These people that made this, and you're unlocking it here phonetically, which is awesome. But people like Crowley are the ones that inspired the rockets and the NASA's and JPL, and did rituals in the States and at all the sites and in Washington. So then it gets really creepy and worrisome.
Well, they say that's why there's an Area 51. They opened a portal that they didn't know how to close. So they just had to build a big concrete bunker around it underneath the ground and try to contain it.
Yeah. Well, and the other part of that is I know about him with unleashing the entity or the beast within, right? The secondary part of your soul or what you can become. And I get praised up on high a little bit for my character who's sitting right here. So what if this guy is really the next level and I'm just not in contact with that or acknowledging it? So what if Ben Hamin is the evolution? So sometimes I feel I'm not as much, but for a while I was kind of a slave to that because I didn't break kayfabe online, or I didn't come out of character like this for the first 8 years of me being online doing this gimmick, man, before I started talking conspiracy. A lot of people were like, did he really flip? Is he really in part of the Al-Qaeda and the Taliban now? Like people from my hometown, like that's my dedication to character. But now, and it probably took me off of a couple of kill lists or whatever, but it was just time to, pay respect because people wanted to hear my creative opinions on wrestling and after writing OVW and whatnot along those. But sometimes I wonder when I read that about Crowley about to release the demon within, is the Ben Hamin character that perplexes me a little bit about myself.
So Ben, James raised earlier how the term about what is it, work, that
yeah
you can you describe to us what you mean by work and what you mean by someone else is much higher up in the hierarchy of work? It's not quite the work that we understand, is it? You've got a different sort of definition of it.
No, it's not going to work in like, let me do my 9 to 5 and clock my paycheck, even though that's what we're doing. We're working. So it's working the crowd, making them believe that the fight is real. Now, wrestling's been so exposed because of Tough Enough and, every other expose, and people in the 80s even knew, but before that, we're talking Simon Gotch era, Vern Gagne era, from the 40s through the 70s. And even when we talked about Andy Kaufman, a lot of people still believed it's real to me, damn it, that it was a total reality because guys paid respect. You wouldn't see baby faces riding with heels in a car. They were in separate locker rooms. Or if a guy got bloodied and whatnot and he had real retribution to do that. So we do that. We call getting color, when you get bloodied up to further, because the blood is real. That I'm that dedicated to this masochistic craft, whether I do it myself and make it look like my opponent did it or what have you, to sell what the beating is going forward. So we're working the crowd into a frenzy because they want to finish. So it's either going to be, the babyface would have won that match if it wasn't for that one goddamn thing the heel did, or I hate that heel, he's always cheating, I can't wait for him to get retribution. And when that happens, you get a psychological closure, a dopamine rush, and that's going to make those people run out to the babyface's merchandise table and buy more T-shirts, pay for pictures with them, or what have you. All little kids. So I'm working the crowd for my own ends to, get further my storyline. If we're doing long-term business, then, I'm telling a Shakespearean tale, some, I believe in wrestling, Hamlet level tales with a lot of ins and outs and characters that come in and out. And also what's doing business for somebody, which means I'm going to let you pin me. So I do business for your character so they get elevated. Or I'm going to elevate a character who's below me, or the fact that tonight I'm going to do this monologue and I'm going to further my story so we get business done. They came along with us this far, and now we need to elevate it to the next level. So,
right, so
hopefully that explains.
Does that mean?
Go ahead.
Sorry, yeah. Does that mean? I know there's a bit of a lag here on the line. Sorry.
That's all right.
So you're sort of well aware that there are audience members out there that are buying this, that are believing this, but amongst yourselves you all sort of regard it as work, doing business, it's just it's a transaction. And as a final question, would you say that this is similar to the mainstream media, where the people who are in media, they know they're working, they know they're doing business for stuff, and they believe they understand that people who are watching them who are buying it, when they shouldn't really?
You're absolutely right on that. Now, we use words like work and business that are common everyday words, but they're just applied a bit differently in how we use them. And that's part of the Carney speak as well. Well, you're nailing it on the head when it comes to mainstream media and being the puppet master or the controller of the marionettes to keep the 95%. 85% rather in sheep state, to follow whatever the message is, to have a reaction, to have a consumerism, Black Friday craziness, hysteria, spend money. The biggest workers of all time and the biggest business and work ever told, in my opinion, is the Jesus story. That guy's still making money off of that work. It was one of the best ones. So the church are great workers. The Pope doesn't. I look at the Pope and he dresses up in nearly the same outfit I do. So to me, he's just a guy out there playing a character. And, when I look at that kind of stuff of like, they had these rules, there can only be one Pope. And when that one dies, God will choose the next one. Well, we didn't do that on the last one. So what? God stopped liking the last Pope and we just chose this guy. So they exposed their own work on that. Right. So a work should be airtight, where all the details are kept up and whatnot. And even a guy like Matt Lauer, who's supposed to be America's sweetheart in the morning when you have your coffee, now it's exposed that he has a lock button on his desk to lock the door and lock women inside, and he's got a bag full of dildos in his closet in his office.
I doubt only women.
Yeah, right. So, they're exposing themselves and their work is falling apart. Wrestling got exposed in the mid to late 80s. And definitely in the early 90s when they started doing reality shows on it and how to take bumps and stuff like that. But what we do, whether you're taking a pratfall or a bump or, you're throwing your punches to make it look good, but you're not really killing the guy because you got to go and do a match with him the next night. It's not UFC. I can't lump you up and then you show up the next night and you got 2 black eyes and a broken nose, right? So
that's a good point. I mean, the fact that, wrestling got, as you say, got exposed. I mean, there was a point when it was claimed that wrestling was for real. I mean, that you were actually beating the crap out of someone and this sort of thing. So I'm wondering when the time is going to come when people are going to realize that the media is the same sort of thing. It's a work, it's a business, it's not reality.
Yeah. Yeah, it's show business, absolutely.
We saw the fake news revolution in the summer a bit. People kind of getting out of control, and now we're seeing the same little mini revolution with all the sexual abuse scandals and stuff, and their little piddles, whatever they're doing.
Yeah, John, I think we're there. I think we're right at the doorstep of that, man. The reason people don't want to go all in and be like, like how they say, that phony bullshit about wrestling when it comes to the news is because they've been conditioned for so long that is their nightly tradition, and then that's where they're going to get. That's who they trusted, and it's more about the feeling of looking at themselves and going, man, what a dumbass I was to believe these people for 30 years.
Well, it's going to take personalities in the mainstream news, personalities that 85% of the community think are credible people. I'm not even going to name names because I don't watch the news, but it's going to take people like them coming out and giving interviews and saying, yeah, we knew it was a work. We were doing business. I did business for Fox, and they did business back for me, and this is what that's what it was. But sorry guys, it was fake.
Too much money involved, I think, bro. Like they're just talking heads, communication majors. They're not real news people who are out doing hard journalism, chasing down stories like it used to be. Once what was the Operation Mockingbird with the CIA came into play, everything was corrupt from the 50s on at that point. So you're not going to get an Anderson Cooper to step up because these 6 major companies, corporations own all of media. They're just going to pay him off. He was a CIA show to start anyway, an intern from way back in the day. So you're not going to get a Rachel Maddow or a Charlie Rose who's now exposed, who was like that grandfather figure that even your grandparents are like, I don't like all them, but Charlie Rose, sure. Exposed. Anybody who's on your TV has been corrupted. If you use that as the rule of then you're safe as far as that goes, of exposing everything as a work, because there is not one of them out there. From Geraldo, I bet Geraldo's going down next. That's one of my biggest ones, because I saw him put out some tweet about
he molested somebody back in the 80s. What's her name?
Bette Midler. She's already called him on it. Yeah.
Oh, Ben, question. You said earlier about blood and stuff. Do you actually feel maybe that you're performing some kind of blood magic ritual because you're using your own blood and you're bringing people to a frenzy with cursive and all that? Like, could you be involved in some sort of
in the squared circle
magic in the in the cage?
It could be.
And then second question, how big, because I'm a massive, have been since 95, was the impact of mixed martial arts on the business?
Sure.
Those are my two.
Both great questions. The first one with blood magic, never in the back of my like, tonight we go into the 6 sides and we will perform for the Dark Lord, overtake me and I will bloodlet for you. Like, but there is a guy right now in NXT named Aleister Black who is Aleister Crowley pretty much. His whole gimmick is Aleister Crowley, like the new thing. Sits and does like seance. So check out Aleister Black. He wears all the symbolism. He's got all tattoos with the hand with the eyeball in it. He comes out, they close in on candles, Lucifer stuff. Like, it's all right there. It comes to me. This is what I've been told is in wrestling, red equals green, which means blood equals money. People love it that much more. And it helps push forward the reality of the fight or the feud. You shouldn't just be going out there and the first time you and I square off and getting color on each other. That needs to be like towards the end in a payoff, right? Like he hit him with that chair. He put him in the steps so hard that we know it's metal and it cut him. And these guys are really going at it now. Now on the greater part of that, outside of it, looking at the outside and what you say, it absolutely could be that you are doing that. It could be some ritualistic. It is ritualistic, obviously.
And that was my concern, because I mean, you seem like a heck of a guy, man. I'm really enjoying this, and you seem like somebody educated enough to not to fool with that stuff. So I just wondered for your protection, man, and if you were aware of it.
I appreciate that, but I also think it's all bullshit. If Satan showed up tonight, I'd kick him in the crotch and put him in the camel clutch and take his title. So,
nice.
Like none of it's believable to me, because it's all a work. Because I don't believe in heaven or hell. I don't believe in where you can go and how to. I believe I'm the sole controller, and I'm out there doing my job as a performer and creating that reality. Now, a father who's 45 years old, who's got his 8 to 10-year-old kid there, that kid believes and he wants me to do it. And that father's having a reaction, getting to see his kid believe that the terrorist that he's been trained and heard ISIS online or whatever is going to lose, and they all can go home happy because their uncle's in the Marines or whatever. Like, that's the payoff I'm working for. It's not to be like, I control you all, you're my minions now, like that kind of stuff, but
yeah.
To what you say, if you are a believer in that kind of stuff, it does fit the format. So I'm not going to deny it, and now maybe I will light a candle and get in a Pentagon and pray for WWE gig. So we'll see. But no, I mean, Vince fought God on television in once, and they've done sacrifices on camera with The Undertaker, crucifying Stephanie McMahon, an androgynous gay character, Orlando Jordan. They have Aleister Crowley. They have The Ascension, who comes out, which are my boys who come out with.
It's heavily loaded with Freemasonic and occult paganistic symbolism. And again, I know you don't believe in it, but it leads you to the question: if it's not real, why do all the richest, elitist, most influential people from the CFR, the Trilateral, the Bohemian Grove, the American government, the Council of 13, Council on Foreign Relations, the British, government and their arm of the Scottish Rite, why do all of those people heavily depend, rely, and perform occult things?
Somebody got way back in the day, somebody got caught doing some gay shit and they were embarrassed about it. And then they formed a little crew where it says, oh, if you want to be the cool kids, you have to do this too. And then once they saw that guy's wiener going into somebody's butt, they saw another guy's wiener going into somebody's butt. And then they all were rich, so they didn't want to make it into that. So they decided to put these costumes on and start this thing this way. And then it became, oh, you believe in Satan, or the church was involved. And I believe that's how almost every secret society and every religion came to pass.
I wouldn't disagree with the concept of the blackmail. I think sadly the reality is it isn't homosexuality or prostitution, it's children.
Yeah, it's deviancy. Yeah, it's somebody got caught being a deviant, and they didn't want to be exposed, so they put the heat on the other guy to join the crew, or you're not cool. And then once that started, it spun out, and then that sect begat the next one, and it happened over here, and oh, they've got one. So the work of what it looks like, but what it was really based on originally, it changed. But so
I think there's a lot to be said that they groom these guys or girls from very early on, and they hand pick the ones that are susceptible to this blackmail, and then they set them up. I mean, this has been released declassified in the UK for sure.
Yeah, from your Parliament on down, with putting your wiener in a pig's mouth, a dead pig's mouth, and stuff like that. Like the ridiculousness of it, and that just shows like there's the real deviancy, and you can put on frocks and gold chains and do raise your hands and do secret Kabbalistic symbolism for your Freemason lodge, for your blue Scottish Rite members, but until they pay the $250,000 to become a 32nd degree Mason, where they have to bow down and claim that Lucifer is the one true God, they're just marks. They're marks getting worked for money. Yeah, they want to be part of the crew.
Yeah,
so
I think
like the rest of that.
Yeah, they're handpicked for their personalities in being exactly the right people to be found in a compromising position, and their reaction would not be "fuck you, I'll go to the courts." It would be, "Yeah, sure. What do you want me to do?" And that is what our politicians and leaders are, unfortunately.
You're right on with that. And to transition your other question, you give me the highest guy in the Freemason lodge, who's the top priest, put him in the ring with me and see if Satan comes to save him or not. Because I guarantee I'm going over strong. So how strong is your blood, sugar, sex, magic? Because it ain't going to go over on me, because I don't believe in it. And you might have all these other marks fooled, but when it comes time for me to put the claw in your eye or fish hook your mouth, you can say all the sex spells you want. You ain't getting out of it, son. So that's really
it here first.
Bring him.
Yeah, Satan coming in. Sorry, Adam. You probably had something to say.
I did, but then I got put off with the what was it? Fish hook your mouth. Me dad. This is for the West Coast Warrior. Me dad always taught us. Remember him doing wrestling tricks and showing that, and that was called the Snenton grip. So you can have that, Ben. It's the Snenton grip, mate.
I absolutely will. I'm going to take that. I appreciate that, man. And I'll actually pop my wrestling trainer, Rip Rogers, because he knows all of the, Euro style and whatnot. And I'm going to say, so I was going with the Snenton grip on that one. And he'd be like, whoa, damn. That's good, love. Thank you. Reels of rotten.
On a serious note, on the point you was making, I think the descriptions you're giving, I wouldn't disagree with. I would allude that those sorts of honey trap type situations that are there are to bring under control the more opportunistic, like the politicians, like the entrepreneurs that propel themselves into the world. But I would suggest that actually the foundations of their world, it's a lot more strictly regulated, and anything that's any title in their world that's worthy of holding, you don't get to that if you're not born and raised towards it. It's not a matter of needing to blackmail you. It's
I don't know. I agree. There's indoctrination there, but that just popped me with what you said there of title, because belts are phony. And you want to know who's the champion and who holds the title is the booker, who says, yeah, you're champ tonight. Nobody really wins a title in wrestling and pro wrestling. So just the fact of, this is my title, I'm the 33 degree, I'm the crown prince of, I'm the royal family. No, you're not. You're full of shit and you're phony and you're trying to work. Yeah, and you're not going to work a worker if I go back to that. So I don't care if it's Prince Harry or any of them for the Queen doing bloodletting so she can stay alive, the Grey Mother. So they're all phony to me. They're all just wearing a costume. The Pope's wearing a costume. He covers for pedophiles. They have no extra power. It's just the fact.
Yeah, but have you seen Hillary's costume lately? Her human facade is starting to wither up a little bit now that she can't do her child sacrifices.
She hacked up those green things.
Right.
Yeah, that was weird.
Exactly.
So maybe there is, and I'm not saying I'm right always. You know what I mean?
Brings me back to the your use of the word work and the hierarchy that you were sort of saying earlier, that this guy's much higher up the hierarchy than me. I mean, it's like when you look at the Pope, he could be subservient to the Queen, and the Queen could be subservient to Bill Gates. We don't know about the actual hierarchy. That's the persona they give to us. Does that sound sort of about right?
Yeah, but at the same time, they're all workers, so nobody is really over on anybody else. Who's more of a veteran in the locker room, who's got more dirt on somebody, who knows where the bodies are buried more, and that's the person who's going to be on top and play politics in WWE that they can't get rid of, right? So,
but yeah, do you
why
not
wouldn't
know
the same thing
who that person is? I mean, you must know the hierarchy of the workers. So do you not know who the workers take their orders
for
from?
Sure, right?
Yeah, but I mean, is the Israeli cabal at the top that way? Is it the Saudi family? Is it the royals who are claimed to be reptilians? Is it a really alien force? You know what I mean? Sure. Who is really pulling those things? You know? So,
but I mean, to keep it within wrestling, would you know who the key players are at the top of the wrestling tree?
Oh you're not going to get over on Triple H and John Cena. I'll tell you that right now. They run the show, and so does Vince and Stephanie McMahon. Those are the four top people.
In the same way, then the royal family and the Pope and Prince Harry and all the rest of it. They themselves would know who not the workers were, but who was at the top of the tree as well. They would probably know.
Absolutely, without a doubt. Without a doubt, they know. And they're only in power because they are still working that work and bowing down and doing what's necessary. It's the same as Triple H. He's in a position right now of running NXT, which is the student show, the developmental, but he comes out of the woodwork and books himself in the main event and books himself over on guys who should be getting the shine, who they've built all this business around. And instead, it's his time to shine out of nowhere after being retired for 2 years. Or he comes in at WrestleMania and pulls a 25-minute rotten match. Like that is like, all right, your time, go down there and do it, bury everybody, you're still over, show who has the power. And then the fans sit there with their arms at their side like, what is happening? What did we just watch? We invested 4 months into something. So the power players can come down and flex their power anytime they want to and say, screw whatever you guys were paying attention to. We're going to do things our way.
Wow.
The other part of your question was UFC. How did that influence? I think UFC is awesome for fight sports because that there was a division of pro wrestling fan, UFC fan, but there's a lot of crossover in that. And then the style of mixed martial arts can now be incorporated into wrestling, and that makes wrestling that was knocked down from its credibility and believability absolutely real. Case in point, they have a Japanese girl named Asuka. And they built her as a world beater kind of in the developmentals, and now they brought her up on the main roster on Raw, and she hit a spinning armbar out of nowhere on this girl this week that was pretty jacked, and it's called a get over match or a squash match. But the fact that out of nowhere she hit it and beat her in like 5 seconds, the believability of a spinning armbar is reinforced because we've seen it in UFC with Ronda Rousey or somebody getting it.
Absolutely, man. And my position on it was it's not like Dana and the UFC and the original owners were out to kind of expose wrestling, but it was an inevitability because their brand was based on as real as it can get. And this is real 2 men in a cage, bare rules, it kind of seemed like it was a challenge in a way. And I see how you guys have worked with it, because I mean, look at Ken Shamrock. I mean, you see the chokes in it, you see the actual submission moves. You're starting to see a kind of a mix, and you're really seeing in the UFC the showmanship come over too. Yeah. I mean, look at Conor McGregor.
I got some funny that's kind of add on that, but you're right with Conor, even though he's under the gun right now from the Irish Mafia trying to kill him. You're spot on with that. However, don't believe all UFC fights are legit. There's plenty that are worked.
I've seen a couple works, but going back into the Pride days when the Yakuza was running them in some of the Bushido competitions, 100%, man.
Yeah, but even in UFC, there's been some works to get guys over who are the
I would say, I hate to say it, and if Rob was here, he'd deny it, and because we hate to give up our sports too, but like, there have been a couple works. Even I will admit it.
Let me ask you this: do you want to fight one time for $7,000, or do you want to lay down for this guy for $15,000, and I guarantee you 3 more fights? That's what a promoter does.
It's just not fair, though. You know what? No matter what industry, no matter what, and we're talking about power players stepping up and flexing and showing they still have their stroke. It sucks. It sucks for everybody else that's underneath, and it's just a really sick symptom of the business. I hate it, man.
Yeah, I think James, it's.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, the way you describe it, Ben, is it's wrestling is a much more brazen and open reflection of society. The things you're describing are in every walk of life. It's just in wrestling, as you say there, it's quite open. This is it. This is the mark. This is the thing. Even down to the points of actually the honest business, it's do this, do that. And I think it's actually, that's the reality of the world we live in. And in so many ways, it's bullying and blackmail, which is the way the world works. And I think wrestling is at least honest.
Adam, yeah, I think you're right, and I think you're absolutely right. Wrestling is honest, but a question for Ben there. How much of this? No, the question's completely gone out of my head. There you go. Started.
You definitely need a $5 face slap. Then I'll come back to you real quick.
Give me one now.
I was gonna say to the Maple Leaf Mauler over there, some other things is, I mean, this goes back before our time. Before there was really carny wrestling, boxing was the most fixed sport. So to bring out another fight sport like UFC and expect that the Vegas scumbags wouldn't get their hands on it and be able to rig it that way, that's just the way it was going to be. And one of the funny things is right now, as we took from wrestling, that crossover is coming back, because I'm pretty close with some of the people at American Top Team, and my co-host Stevie Richards actually was kind of a coach for Colby Covington, who made a lot of waves recently down in Brazil, like after his post-match fight, insulted all the people of Brazil, called it a shithole.
And son and special.
Yeah, so in Chael too, and he's a big wrestling fan. So right now they know, because of Conor McGregor getting over using character, not like his fights are incredible. Like, you got to see this light middleweight guy fight.
You have to agree though, man. Conor, in terms of WWE, in terms of anything we've ever seen in the last 100 years, there is something special in that kid for the way.
I can go out and work blue and say fuck 100 times too, and get over. Like, if nobody else is working, you're the only worker doing promos, of course you're going to stand out. So now Colby Covington and these guys are starting to do that. They're going to wrestlers for advice. But
why isn't it working though? It's not working. It's so subpar. It's I don't know. To me,
the difference, you got to win in UFC. You can't talk shit and lose.
This guy took Mayweather 10 rounds for
James. That whole thing was a great example of how media presentation can actually change your mind. Okay, when that first fight was first booked, everybody knew Mayweather was just going to slap him. He was just going to tease him and slap him. Yeah. And then in the ensuing weeks, with the constant hype and disinformation and misrepresentation of the facts with regards to what was going to go off in the ring, what they'd be fighting under. Oh, look at the gloves. Look at all the subterfuge that went off.
The ref was in.
People went in thinking, oh, I wonder who's going to win. Yeah. And it was an embarrassment because he got a boxing lesson, and everybody was conned into forgetting that it was a boxing match. And that was a great example of the way the media plays people and got you to spend your money.
I remembered my question, Ben.
Connor's an MMA boxer, though, man.
Go for it, buddy.
It was about, about wrestling being honest insofar as it was sort of called out early on. But I'm just wondering what your thoughts are on other sports, like football and horse racing and all this other thing. Are they going to get called out in the future as well as being complete hoaxes?
I think NBA could. It'd be easy to work an NBA game, in my opinion. And what the thing is, where there's the most money, there's always going to be somebody trying to pull a work, man, because they want to, get max value. And especially now that there's thousands of empty seats in the NFL and they've lost $500 million. Absolutely, they could do something to pull a work. The Colin Kaepernick thing itself could have been a work from the get-go to try and use character during a Black Lives Movement thing, even though it might have blown up in their faces along those lines. There's a lot of anything that's character-based, character-driven to get an emotional reaction, as opposed to let me play the sport and let that part of it shine when the rest of that comes in there. It's ego-driven, and it possibly could be controlled. You can't go out there and go like, Go hit a home run. Oh, okay, I'm going to go do that right now. That's a lot harder.
I came to the conclusion that, if you want to see a real football match or baseball match or something, then, you go down the Sunday league and watch the kids playing, because that's the only thing that's honest.
But how do you explain this stuff?
Sure.
See what Ovechkin here. This happens so much more often than you think, and I don't know if it's a work or not. But Ovechkin came to Toronto, or Toronto went the hockey team, and Ovi said to this kid who was there as a special guest that I'm going to score a hat trick for you. And guess what? Ovechkin got a hat trick.
Yeah. When was it the major story in the news, and when did that match really matter?
Yes.
Right?
No, it didn't matter.
And are the people in the media, do they own the team? Does the same company that was putting it out there, are they under the same conglomerate, under the same umbrella? Did they need to sell more tickets? Do they need a feel-good story? Did they need a big baby face to shine? Do they need a top hero? This is how you make a baby face.
I gotta do some work on that word. Wow.
I love that breakdown. That's awesome.
Yeah, wow, man. And actually, I'm fucking up right now, too, because if wrestling wasn't exposed, not like we're all out here talking about this. If this was, say there was internet in 1960s, 1970s, the next match I would be in, somebody would break my leg in the ring for breaking kayfabe right now. This is a big no.
There's literally 20 people, if we're lucky, and they're being frequency shadow banned from hearing us right now, so we're good.
Well, I appreciate it, man. Like, that you guys are taking to the wrestling vernacular. It's a little tough to follow if you're not in the locker room, but you can apply this. We call it being smartened up, to the business. And now we're the controllers of the crowd. So it is the same with media.
I just think that, I'm not a sort of sports fan or anything. I'm completely not a sports fan. But from what I can take away from this evening is the complete parallels and comparisons between what the wrestling federation or whatever it's called was believed to be in the 70s, and then it was busted open in the 80s or whatever. And now it's just talked about as it's just normal. But you've still got crowd members that think it's absolutely for real. And I see the media following in along behind this, and sport itself, you know, other sports, football and horse racing and all the rest of it. And, you know, give us 50 years and we'll look back on this time and think, yeah, it was a complete fantasy, and it was a, you know, how did we ever fall for it? But yeah, I think it's brilliant.
Escapism. We love escapism, and especially during times of war where we don't want to be constantly inundated with that. We want to find a way to get away and live these fantasies and live vicariously through heroes, especially if I got a beer belly and I really want abs like John Cena or somebody. You know what I mean? So
what's the next fantasy then? What's the next escapism as the sort of veils of you know, credibility fall? And putting on your suit and your VR goggles and you're away. Yeah, I think you're
pretty
right.
much. It's augmented reality in VR. It's let me be in a world that I can escape from and be totally immersed in what I want to, where I pick and choose my own self-serving. We have Alexa.
Futures.
Me, me.
WIFM, my favorite station. What's in it for me? WIFM.
Idiocracy.
But yeah, that's what it is.
I think.
Yeah, you're right. It is idiocracy. It's customized lifestyle from augmented reality, how my life looks compared to your life looks. When we go in the store, the experience we have where packaging will even be different for men and women and our own little helpers, digital helpers.
There
where
won't be men and women, obviously, but yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. I think that's where we're heading. But what I also see, you know, coming out of left field, is a complete technology boycott. People are just going to throw their hands up and go, "Screw you! We're not using your Facebook, your Twitter. We're, you know, sod your DMs. I'm sticking your smartphone up my dumb ass." And you know, this could be something they haven't seen coming, or maybe they completely have and they're going to lead it from the charge. But I can see a technology revolution coming along, or anti-technology revolution coming on.
I don't know. I think the addiction's too strong, man. But, you know, that's why you got to also, along with all this, I come from a blue collar background where this is real stooge, but my dad was like a lumberjack, and I'll be out in the woods tomorrow at 6 a.m. with a rifle in my hand, and I know how to chop wood, carry water. So all these people who live in major metropolises who've never known how to do a hard day's labor and are tech addicts like this, you're going to find a whole wasteland of people who've had their head down in a phone for the last 5 years who have no idea how to survive in a post-apocalyptic scenario.
That's where I see the zombie apocalypse coming. That's the zombiness. They turn the tech off and they stop your meds. Pure zombie apocalypse.
Yeah, plenty.
Sorry,
Josh, plenty of
bullets.
No, I was just going to say, I can't ever hear the word lumberjack without hearing Monty Python in my head.
Yeah, I get that.
That's got a Canadian feel to it, isn't there? James, you must know that inside out, surely. He goes to the lavatory.
I do.
He puts on women's clothing and has buttered scones for tea. He cuts down trees. Oh, stop. Sorry.
You've been practicing.
Oh, that's old school, mate.
We've been going almost 2 hours.
You need to work gravity in there somewhere. Sorry, Josh.
Well, maybe that's a good time to bring it in.
I need a gravity break right now.
I think that would be a great.
Ben, maybe you could come back and we could go a bit flat, and you could maybe throw a few issues that you have with Flat Earth. You seem a well-versed guy, and maybe some of the things that are clawing at you, we could.
No, I think you're definitely right, man. I'd love to come back. This has been a super great experience. I didn't expect to do as much wrestling education tonight as I did, but I'm thankful that you guys were interested in what I'm doing and how it really does, change the perception of how I live my life and how my brothers in the locker room perceive everything. To the marks who really don't get a chance to be enlightened or smartened up, that's maybe how most of us should start living life a little bit, because we've been burned by all these systems that we're indoctrinated to trust and to live under. And now that they're being exposed, and the masters that we supposedly vote in there are nothing more than shills and charlatans themselves, that hopefully this might wake a couple people up. So I'm happy to do that. But I would love to come back. I got a couple things that I definitely would like to put on the table and hear your guys' opinions. I'm glad I got Walt all fired up with the rocket guy. He's still pissed off about it. He's
Well, we're just going to take a little break. We just need to go freshen up our coffee. If you have time, you can totally stick around.
Actually, I do have to roll out, brother. I got some business to take care of tonight. So
understand. I appreciate the 2 hours you spent with us.
Oh man, I appreciate all you guys.
It's been awesome, man. And thanks so much for the inside scoop on wrestling. It's just great. I enjoyed it a lot. Thank you.
Well, I actually invite all you guys. Anything that you guys have, please send me at bin_Hamin, BIN_HAMIN. Happy to look at it, pass it through, the chain of the Conspiracy Horsemen. We're always looking for content.
We should talk Hart Brothers and wrestling, Alberta wrestling one day too. Oh,
yeah, I actually got to meet almost the whole family at the Wrestling Hall of Fame, and I'm a Brett guy from day one, and
hell yeah.
Shout out to Owen as well. The tragedy there, but I'm always thinking of him and what I do. So,
question: was that like a Brandon Bruce Lee type thing, or was that legit? I gotta know.
No, I don't think that was any type of sacrifice, man. They wanted him to do the Sting spot. He didn't want to do it. He was forced into it, and I think it was literally just a mechanical failure of the equipment that went that way. I don't think there was any big sacrificial underlying stuff there. They would do they would have written it better if they wanted it like that.
Right on, man.
It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. You know how ignorant I am of all sports and personalities and everything else, but it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, and hope to do it again soon. Cheers.
Yeah, y'all, brothers, I thank you once again. Iron Realm Media, shout out. Truth Frequency Radio. You can catch us Sundays at 7. Josh, Corey, and I. Walt will probably be joining us. We had a great episode. If you hadn't heard it, go back and listen to The Infinite Fringe. You can check it out at hackerhamin.podbean.com. The Conspiracy Horsemen are at twitch.tv/Conspiracy Horsemen. We're live every Wednesday night at 6:15. So if you want to hear conspiracy from wrestlers, if you enjoyed this talk, you're going to hear it from 4 guys going back and forth that way. And if you're just into the phony-ass fun world of professional wrestling, there's podcasts every day pretty much at hackerhamin.podbean.com or hackerhamin on iTunes or on Stitcher. And from the Pro Wrestling Reflection, where we look at old WrestleManias, to the Impact Attack, to the Locker Room Show with special guests on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. But again, shout out Iron Realm Media from across the pond, around the globe, around the flat earth. Excuse me, I don't want to say the globe there. Around the flats, y'all. This is Hacker Hamin, you infidels. Slap yourself across the face, or else come to a show and I'll give you one for $5. YOLO.
Peace.
All right, folks. So with that, I think we're going to take a little break. I've got some gravity queued up somewhere. We'll get that going. Big shout out to Ben Hamin for joining us right here on the Flat Earth Friday FringeCast. Gentlemen, it's time to catch our breath, grab some coffee, hit the head, reset, and come back for round 2. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Everybody, welcome. TJF, thank God it's flat. My name is Josh Corey. We'll catch you guys on the other side of this break. Let me see if I can't scrounge something up here.